Hey everybody, John again from Red Viking Hobbies. Check this out. Carisma Coyote. Original version. Carisma Coyote 2.1. Okay? Original on my right, your left. New one, my left, your right. Watch this. Hand on the tire, throttle pull. I'll show you again. Hand on the tire, throttle pull. I'm gonna loosen up a little bit so I can show you what the car does. All right, hand on the tire, throttle pull. Okay, 35T motor. Same battery, same controller, okay? Same hand. 2.1 version. Throttle pull. Hand on the tire, throttle pull. I'll loosen up to show you just like I did on this one. Bring it up. Top speed. 17T motor. Both brushed. 35, 17. What's going on, guys? You're about to find out at Red Viking Hobbies. Well, all right. In true Red Viking hobby fashion, we're going to do our improper unboxing, which basically means I take it out of the box already and I test it out and then I show you what we got. That way you don't have to see me peeling plastic and all of that stuff. And I get to show you what's interesting and you don't have to sit through all the boring stuff. So basically, this is the Coyote 2.1 version from Carisma, and it is a significant upgrade over its predecessor, which is here, the original Coyote, built on the Toyota Stout body style. Our body wants to hop off there because I took the pins off, obviously, so I could show you. And we should let it. It probably wants to show off what's underneath the hood because other than the bodies, these cars are not very similar. At first glance, they might look like they are, but they're not. You know what? The body doesn't want to cooperate, but Carisma is excellent with scale. That's their thing. Carisma Scale Adventures. Okay, if you take a look behind me here, you know, the SCA-1E is a scale system. We got a scale Brat over here. We have our scale endorsed Ford F-150. We have the, since 1976, we have a 1981 Land Rover. Was the back of my head pretty enough for you? I'm sorry I did that to you. And then of course we have this 2.1 Coyote that we're talking about, and the original Coyote, which is down here, okay? But there's been some significant changes. But the most significant change happened in this model. So in the previous models, they changed this Coyote up, and I'm gonna show you that, but I decided, let me just tell you what's inside the box, what you're getting, and then we'll go straight to the video to show you how it performs, and then after that, show you what makes this car, this crawler in particular, incredibly special for the $300 price point that it's at, if you can find one in stock. Okay, so first, we get the car, okay? We get our CTX 8000 controller. It's the same controller that came with the original. Here, I'll bring this up so you can see it. I'm not a big fan of the controller. I'll explain why in a little bit. It comes with a Nimh battery that's ready to go, 7.4 volts and 1400 milliamps. It comes with the charger for that battery. However, you need to know, if you're new to RC, that of course, if you go and you plug your battery in, it will discharge if you leave it on the charger. So always unplug your battery. The same is true inside your car. So always unplug your batteries. It has black retaining clips for the body that go on there. It comes with an extra bumper. It also comes with a spot for the hitch. But the coolest thing in all of this stuff, and also tow hooks, that are on there. That's not a big deal. It's on the original. I'll show you that in a bit. But the coolest thing is this little piece right here, inside here in the bags. I usually don't mention anything in the bag unless it's something that's like really cool. The front bumper already comes set up for a winch, but then they give you a rear winch piece that you can put in and install, so you can install your rear beefy bumper on there, and then you can put your winch on, or you could go completely scale and swap out to the other bumper that they give you with the car. So this is what the car looks like. We're gonna get to the details on the inside of the car after you get to see the video on how the car runs. So that's what's up right now. So out here we're running on the Nimh battery that it came with. Way to be, brother. Oh, you brought some seaweed with you. Yeah, I get it. We got that off you. I really don't want to go over there, man. Come on, go for it. Come on. All right. That's my boy. I don't know. You going to that? That's a tall drink, man. Karmadaz, get out. Come on, man. Come on. Everybody's watching you. Literally, anybody who wants to tune into the video can be watching this. Come on, man. Get some grip. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah. All right. Let's see, get you out of this jam. Good job. You just made the video longer because I'm gonna have to put that in. Great job. Man, jam after jam, you just get right out, huh? You look up Karmadaz and you get this truck. All right, man. Good luck. Splashing you in. Great job. Whoa, that is deep. That was my bad making you work that extra effort on a dead battery, but I'm actually gonna ask you to go further. We're gonna go down. And you can't tip over with that front battery, all right? And I'm gonna put you up, so. See how you do. Here we go. No rolling. Good job. Now we're doing this side by side because obviously if you take a look at them, at first glance, they look like the same car with two different bodies on them, right? But they're not. Carisma RC, when it came to having a competent crawler, they had a good crawler with the Coyote, has a huge fan base. When they went over and they went to the 2.1, they went a little bit above and beyond. So let me show you what's going on here, all right? Now, this isn't something that is a huge change in the other vehicles you see behind me. So when I'm talking about over here the Land Rover, or we're talking about the Subaru Brat and the Ford, when you take a look at the battery placement, what they've done is they've taken the battery and they've moved it to the front of the car, okay, for better balance. So your center of gravity is better in the car. So on this side, you're looking at the new one, the Karmadaz. That's the light gray, the black one being the older model, okay? So basically you take the weight out of the back and you distribute it more evenly up towards the front of the car. But what they also did, and this is important because Carisma is big on scale. Take a look at some of their road cars like their Lotus or their Audi, and take a look at the details. And the reason the companies get those badges on their cars, well, here this one actually just says it, Ford, Land Rover, get those badges, is because the amount of detail they go to through scale. However, immediately when you take a look at this, you see the servo that's up here, up front, that we have on the original, okay? That would be something that would get points off for scale because you don't want to see that servo. So the servo was relocated in the other models to be brought up top up here. So they're both easily accessible, except the servo here isn't shown. And so when you go and you take a look, what do you see? You see your steering linkage and your diff, which is important when it comes to scale. So if you're a scale guy, you're going to be more interested in this straight away, even if you happen to like the black body better. You can get the black body. My body actually that was run on this is a Pro line, and this one actually was a Shelf Queen. That's why it's in the condition that it's in. But moreover, let's keep going because there's a lot more changes. On the new SCA-1Es, okay, and specifically on this 2.1 Coyote, you get a lot more suspension points. Here's the original car, okay? And you could see, you can change the body mounts on it, but when it came to where you put your shocks, you were limited, all right? Not so. In the new Karmadaz, there are shock points all over. So you can change your shock out and flip them and put them wherever you want to put them. That's a big deal for a lot of people. In addition, if you take a look at your original, these are not true 1.9s, and they're also not bead locks. These old school wheels that they have on here, I actually took off and I put on a set of my own crawling tires on here. So these have never been run. This is 1.8. You could tell if you take out a ruler and you go to measure your tires, when you measure a 1.9, it's going to come out close to 2 inches. I'm probably cutting off my head, and this is upside down, so that's not very fruitful. So we'll go this way, okay? When you measure a 1.9, you're going to be at about 2-inch mark, all right? But when you go and you measure these guys, well, that's only fair, right, that we do this measurement here now that I've opened my mouth about it. When we go and we measure these guys here, we are not even close. They say it's 1.8. The measurement to me looks like it's less than that. I'd have to measure it in millimeters, but here's the point, is that you can't find tire sizes for it. So you're going to wind up running other tires on this car, and that's what I've seen in most of the forums, is that guys are flipping to different tires. But this guy comes with beadlock wheels. Now, because I don't want to be doing a straight-on comparison between the two, I need to show you the most interesting fact and what you saw in the beginning of the video that makes the 2.1 a monster in comparison to its first iteration. All right, here we go. All right, so in the first iteration of this car, okay, I want you to take a look in particular at the drive shafts, here and here. Okay, now they're black, so it's going to be hard to see against the black background on there. You'll be able to tell the difference in the cars by these ports right here. They're actually made for lights, so you could light the underhousing of the car. I want you to try to see the direction in which they spin when I pull our throttle. Now, if you look at the one on the bottom, it's spinning to the left, okay? If you look at the one on the top, it is also spinning to the left. You see that? I'll try to slow it down here a little more. Both spinning to the left. There's your full pull, all right? By the way, they're both the same batteries, both running on, I actually pulled the battery out of the Brat so I would have the updated battery for the Coyote so you could see. Same batteries, same amount of charge time. They're both on the 7.2, okay? We're gonna turn our controller on. I need it over here. And we're going to turn the power on and try to give you the same view, all right? Here's the axles, the drive shafts that I want you to be watching. Watch the bottom one and which direction it turns. Turns to the left. Now let's take a look at the drive shaft up top. Turns to the right. See that? Full pull. All right? So, opposite. Same on the other one, opposites here. Why does that make a difference? Let's talk about it. Well, if you didn't notice it then, probably notice it now. In addition to changing the servo, they changed the direction and placement of the motor in the cars. And they flipped the differential on one. What did that do? Well, instead of having the same bias going in one direction, so that when the car would hit something and go to crawl up it, and its back would hop, because we have the opposite direction turning, our line actually becomes straighter. So when I run this car and I come up against something and I need to get over an obstacle, it tends to hop on me. On this car, on the 2.1, what happens is as it gets up there, it tries to maintain its line and it's less likely to hop. So then how is it that we achieve a slower tire speed with a 17T motor versus a 35T motor? And the rest of these all behind me, except for the box, of course, for this one, which is this right here, okay, are also 35T motors. What's this 17T all about? It's a 5-pole motor instead of a 3-pole motor. Difference being, in a 3-pole motor, you get more of that torque right off the bat. They tend to heat up and they go faster right off the gun, right? So to give you an example, I have a drifter over here by Red Cat, a Thunder Drift. Let me grab it. I swear, I thought that was coming down on me. I'm only tilting it just so you guys don't have that crazy glare. 22T, okay? In a drift car. So when we talk about crawlers, we typically think, okay, if we're gonna need a crawler, well then we're gonna need a motor, we're gonna need a 35, 45, 55T motor. But if you change the poles on the motor, you get more low-end torque. And that it actually keeps accelerating the more poles that you have. So like guys who do model trains and stuff like that, they have motors that have more poles in them. Some people call them slots, so that the motor can give them more torque, so you get more pulling power. And that's the idea here. So between using the 5-pole 17 closed can motor and a high gear ratio, or I'll put it this way, the way the gear ratio is set up on the original is 1782. This is 1483. So when we talk about gear ratios, I'm actually talking about, when I say high, I'm talking about teeth on the spur, right? We have 83 teeth on our spur here versus 82. It's not a huge difference, right? And then 14 teeth on the pinion versus the 17 teeth on here. And I apologize, there's so many different cars that sometimes I get mixed up, so I had to write that down. But what we're getting when we do the 5-pole 17T is we're getting less torque twist. And torque twist isn't something you think about in a crawler right off the bat, because you wouldn't imagine that something that, you know, other than like, let's say a drag car or something like the new axial rift that has, you know, a tremendous amount of power, that your car is actually going to do that kind of torque twisting. But to give you an example of how much they knew that it was a problem when they first brought this car out, they literally included a little a reducer that you would slip onto the controller here. I got it on backwards. So that when you pulled on the controller, it would reduce the pull by 30% or thereabouts on the controller, so that this car couldn't get away from you, and so it could crawl better. And so they looked at that and they were like, all right, we got to fix that somehow. Now, both of these cars are offered right now around the same price point. This is about $10 more. So I wouldn't even be looking at this car. I would be looking at this 2.1 version straight away. I wouldn't even consider going here. The one downside right now is that Carisma isn't offering this motor in, not only in their other models, but I couldn't find it on their site to buy. But that's what's going on, and that's what you get. So if you can find a 2.1 that's in stock, that's the one you want to go with. So other than the body design on this, the fact that you have more suspension points on here that you can adjust, the fact that your servo has been relocated, the fact that the motor has been flipped and the diff has been flipped so that one axle is traveling in the, one drive shaft is traveling in the opposite direction than the other, so that you can run that straight line, is a big deal for 310 bucks. I think it's amazing. In addition, your ESC is upgraded. Now, the ESCs are also upgraded in the models that are behind me. They get the ARC1, the ARC1. But, and here's one of the things about the car, okay? Programming this car, okay, to go to Lipo has to be done through the ESC and the controller. In the original, you just had the little hopper, you just take it and go from Nimh battery to Lipo. The programming for this ESC has to be done with poles on the throttle. And so basically what they tell you in the manual, not what they show you online. Go look at their forums online, go pull up their videos and see how they do their setups. But if you take a look online at, if you take a look at their manual that comes inside the box, because, you know, I was interested. I wanted to know with the ARC1, you know, how it was, the programming procedure. It literally says, here's the programming procedure in this tiny little booklet. The other ones come with these thick booklets. This comes with this tiny little booklet with the same controller. I thought that was really bizarre. But your programming procedure, second line, for safety, suggest to remove the motor pinion during ESC setting. What they're saying is basically pull the motor so the car doesn't run away. Now, if you've ever programmed a Traxxas or anything Spectrum, you know, or been around RC cars, you know if you goof up, that car just takes off on you, which is why it's recommended to put it on a stand, right? And then to take the tires off. You know, these tires are terrific. I absolutely love them. They're soft. I don't know what the foam is inside them. I'd like to find out. They are beadlocks, so you can just hook up your weights right on there. It'd be excellent. The controller, when we get into, I'm trying to think if there's anything before I jump over to the controller. This car, and you know, let me flip it around here and throw the body back on. This truck is awesome. I like it very much. But it is a $300 crawler. And so that's why when you come to things like the programming procedure on this, where you're going to have to pull the throttle, and I recommend just putting it up and then doing the walking through the throttle, not the throttle, but your settings on here. On I'm not really thrilled with the way that they do it, especially telling somebody who might be, you know, going for a budget crawler that they're going to have to remove their pinion to do the setup. That's not necessary. Just get the car off of the off of a surface and go ahead and put it on a stand, and you'll be absolutely fine. In this manual, I'm going to tell you, because it doesn't say it, and if it does, I missed it. I can't tell you how many times. Okay, in this manual, they don't tell you what this little function button does. That's your bind button. So if you were to hold the bind button down and turn it on, and you were to press the bind button inside on your receiver, that's how you would bind the car to a controller. Put it that way. I don't happen to like this controller. I like the car. I like the truck. I like the things that it does. But there are two things about it that could make it way better. The reason I don't like this controller is because of this wheel right here. This wheel, the spring action that's on here, is fast. That spring is strong. So one-handed driving with the distance, okay, is rough if you're trying to do any videography, okay? And if you're not, what's gonna happen is, actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you. So I'll stop for a second, and now I'll pick up to show you what's going on, okay? The spring action is so tight inside of this thing, okay, for a crawler, that when we turn our wheels and let go, the return is so fast that when we're actually doing our crawling and we're out there and our hands have been wet because, you know, we've been through a little bit of rain, or the car's been, you know, in the water, and then we go and we pick it up, we got this really glossy wheel that would either need a piece of foam or some rubber bands on it, but it also has a lot of tension that's on it. And so the car wants to constantly go like this, so your finger slips off it, you know, and you wind up in a situation where you're going like this, and then all of a sudden you're losing your track because of the grip. I don't like that. Also, because these throttle knobs are on the side, not throttle knobs, throttle and steering are on the side here, okay? To make the adjustment, you would have to come over and do it with your left, give it its run, and then go ahead and then decide where your steering point is as you're driving it with your left hand. Instead of it being on top, let's say like if you were running a low-C controller on top, and then being able to dial it in. So anytime they're over here on the right-hand side, I don't happen to be in love with that. But what makes it one step worse is that it has this ATV system in it, which is its stability control for running the line, has to do with the steering. Now I have it turned all the way up so I can go full right and full left. And you can hear, listen, there's no whine. Listen to this. Which means it hasn't reached its endpoints for the steering on the servo. It's only a 9-kilogram servo that they give you with this. So when you get into the programming of it, you want to listen for that whine and then just slightly back off so you can get the largest turn radius possible without the servo overworking itself. The way it is like this, stock, its steering ratio, the turn ratio on this is not great. And you could just tell by how far those tires are turning, that's not great. And if you look at my left and my right, take a look at this is my right turn, right? And then this would be my left. If I flipped it over, they're not equal. So I got to go back into the ESC and reprogram the thing and work with my dials to get that in there. But to run your straight line, you can take this little thing here and watch. I'll show, it's better just to show you. We're spinning, right? Here's my turn radius. And I want to reduce my turn radius. Slow her down. All the way off, right? So could come in handy on a crawler, right? Unless you keep hitting it with your finger because your right hand is on the throttle and you're trying to one finger the jogger, or your left hand is on it and you wrap your thumb around and you're accidentally hitting this because you're laughing with your friends and you're talking, and now your steering is all wacky. So you got to push it all the way forward, but there's no way to lock that in place. And so my recommendation would be to swap out the controller that you use with it. It's big, it's kind of bulky. To give you the Steve Vai handle, you know, on there, just not in love with it. Okay, this is a FlySky $50 controller, all right? Digital, okay? Holds up to 10 models, has a longer range on the antenna than most with built-in antennas. On the top of it, you have the buttons that we were talking about before, the steering trim, the throttle trim up top instead of on the side. And these buttons that are on the side are completely programmable. They're assignable. So you can take them and you can actually dial through and you can figure out what it is that you want and then assign these models, the different models that you have, and you can do dig and drag, which isn't available on this car unless you buy the optional ARC2 for $40. Look at this. That is the ARC2 ESC, okay? That ESC. This is the ARC1. That one is only $40, comes with a programming card with 21 different parameters in it. An XT30 connection, I believe, is what it has on there. It's ready to run up to 3S Lipo and swap it right in. So you could swap this thing in and grab one of these for 50 bucks, and for a $90 or $100 after tax investment into your truck, have your dig feature, your crawl feature, set your in points, set your throttle, set all of the different settings that you'd want to do with that new ESC and the controller, and boom, that's it. You have, you know, a monster crawler on your hands because they've already given you a terrific base. They just needed to go that one step further with the ESC and a controller that's a little bit better. Now, I didn't bust out a $200 controller or a $300 controller to show you, because in a budget-friendly crawler, I just don't think that that would be a fair thing to say, oh, and then you're gonna go buy this $200 controller to go with it. For that, I would say, no, spend your money in a $500 crawler. You know, get yourself a portal axle crawler. Now, I'm going to leave you with this last thing to think about when you're getting into crawling, or if you're a crawler already and you're looking at different cars. Okay, I consider there to be 4 different crawling classes. The first crawling class are the scale guys, the guys that want their cars to look scale. Carisma does a great job at scale. There are some others that are out there that are terrific too, like the TRX4 Bronco is a really good scale looking car that guys are doing up. And so you have the scale guys, and they're going to take these cars and they're going to try to make them look more scale than anything that's going to come inside the box. And so sometimes they'll go kit, or sometimes they'll go RTR, and then they'll start to add all of those scale features to it. So when you look at it and you start to take photos of it, it's looking more like an original. So that's where things like this really shine. Then the next category would be the weekend warriors. That's where I fall, where it's like, I like to crawl, you know, and I'm getting more into crawling and a little bit more away from bashing because of the expense of all of the different things that are in bashing. And I'm investing my money into crawlers that actually don't break all the time. And, you know, I'm designing a crawling course in my backyard. You guys have seen the footage from that. And so, you know, I like having an everyday crawler you could take out with the boys, and you could, you know, you guys are like hanging out and you're going across riverbeds and creeks, or you're hitting up, you know, different spots, and you have that crawling community. Then there's competition. Once you get into competition, you can't be talking about weights like this. This is 6 point something pounds, I think it is. After a battery, you're probably at about 7 pounds. Does it mean that you couldn't lower the weight in it and things like that? No, you could. You could try, but there are better kits that are out there that you could buy that get you into competition. So this is more scale or your weekend warrior. And the last group after the competition guys, and the competition guys they cross over, are the guys that do climbing. Take a look at the California crawlers, on Instagram. They're the ones that I would take a look at. The difference between guys who climb and guys who crawl, even though or king crawlers, that's one. And I'll put the links below so I get the names right so you could see them, is that what they do differently is instead of something that we've always been trying to accomplish, which is high CG, so we can clear obstacles, right? And have our tires have, a tremendous, amount of travel on them. Instead of doing that, they go low CG, right? They bring the car down. And then what they do is they give the car the ability to twist. And what they do is they lighten the car as much as they can so that they can get that car to do an 80-degree incline and climb it by pulling it up with the front tires. However, to do that, because the car is dropped the way it is, there are some kind of clearances for regular crawling that if they were going to crawl over tree stumps and things like that, that they'd get caught up on, that the Coyote would not get caught on. Not the original, not this one, because of its higher clearance. So those are really the things you got to think about and where you want to go. Are you really thinking about, doing climbs and you want to build a climber? Then, take a look at the axial Capra and see if you want to invest in that kit. And that's a great starter for a climber. You're not going to get any scale look to it. The thing looks like a buggy, right? But it's a great climber right out of the box. What about hard bodies? What about, I mentioned the TRX4, but what about the Red Cat Gen 8s? Right, with the V2 and the Axe edition. They're beautiful, capable crawlers. Their only issue, of course, is, with a hard body, because of the weight in them, is how to keep them from, tipping over. And then, scratching up the bodies and everything else like that. Do you care? Do you not? The point is this, is that, or, you know what, I didn't even mention it, but I might as well at this point, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at what a Vanquish kit costs. Made in America, made in the United States. Kit's going to run you $700, $800. You're going to get to put all the electronics into it, and then you got to experiment to see how to run that kit best and see if you can do it competition ready, or if it's going to be a weekend warrior kind of deal for you, or if you could turn it into a climber. So there's a lot of stuff that's in crawling, but for an out-of-the-box crawler that's going to run straight lines, is going to be able to handle the water, is going to be handled the incline. You know what I didn't mention is the fact that this thing has 100% brake on it for your incline and your decline in crawler mode right out of the box. What that means is that as we ascend, okay, and we let our finger off of the trigger, the car stops. It doesn't roll backwards. It's not a slash, okay? So, and if we're on a descent and we're rolling downhill, the car stops. It doesn't continue on. It's got brake force, 100% that's already applied. Now, if you want to change that because of the ESC that's in here, you can't change it and say, oh, I want 36% brake force, or I want this, percentage of brake force. You'd have to swap to the ARC2 and then get yourself a controller that can handle it. And you're looking at this going, oh, well, that's probably close to, being as big as the other one, just without the handle. The difference is that when I put my finger on this knob, because of the rubber that's on there, I am absolutely able to get my hand on the trigger and on the knob and really able just to finger that thing ever so slightly. So anyway, listen, Carisma, awesome cars, stunned at the upgrade and the difference. This video definitely ran longer than I wanted it to, because Karmadaz had to show off out there with what it could do. I mean, it's just a really cool truck for the money. 300 bucks. I mean, to choose between, the original, or to go with the 2.1. The 2.1 smokes it all day long. I can't tell you how ecstatic I am about the 17T 5-pole motor that's in this. Listen, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it got a little long-winded. There was a lot to go over, and it wasn't going to be like a full crawling video, but I wanted you to know what you were getting, because they really did some serious upgrades in this car, and I wanted you to be able to appreciate them as much as I do. And so when I did that torque twist thing in the video, I really wanted you guys to see that Carisma was, when they realized that they had an issue with the torque twist, they went after it. They didn't just say, oh, okay, we'll just gear it down differently, or we'll go to a 55 turn motor instead of, the 35 turn. No, they didn't. They said, you know what, let's change the geometry and the way that we're gonna work our, I mean, they literally flipped the motor direction, I mean, that's a big change. That's some R&D going in there to figure out, what they want to do. Now, are they looking at other models and seeing what they're doing? Of course, you would be stupid not to. But between the different body post positions that you can use and bodies you can run on this, and also, I don't run the long batteries anymore. The fact that, so I'm going to drop the ARC2 in here, and I'm just going to run the shorty battery packs, the Lipo packs, in this car. I mean, it's just terrific, straight out of the box. I didn't mention it. I should mention it now, that you do have steel shaft shocks that are here. They're plastic bodies. But they're completely adjustable, and then they do have metal caps. Everything else is metal. The linkage on it is metal. The only piece that's plastic on the linkage is right up here, up front. It's not changed out on my original Coyote because of where the servo was, but on this one I've already ordered up the aluminum upgrade. It's the same one as the SCX-10. So if you have an axial SCX-10 and you get a Coyote, you could just go ahead and order up the front steering linkage for that, and you're in business. ARC2, new controller, and boom, you got a nasty crawler on your hands. Just absolutely awesome. Hey, John from Red Viking Hobbies, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was long-winded, but I hope it was worth it, all right? Hope to see you out there.